Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Leah Groppo. I'm one of the registered dietitians and diabetes educators at Stanford Healthcare. And I'm so excited to be able to introduce you all to Gina Milano. She's one of our registered dietitians who works at Stanford Healthcare in the bariatric clinic and medical weight loss clinic. She also has worked a lot in the diabetes care program. So we're so lucky to have her share some of her favorite recipes. So today we're going to be talking about healthy holiday treats and eats. So I can't wait to get into that. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A box and we'll get to them throughout the presentation if they apply to the recipe, and then definitely at the end as well. So thank you all for joining us in December. And without further ado, here's Gina.
All right, good evening, everyone. I hope you all are having a great start to your week. I know we're full into the holiday season, and the holidays can be super challenging for a lot of us, whether it's all the traveling back and forth, whether we're thinking about our health goals, balancing our blood sugars, maybe trying to enjoy these fun celebrations, but also managing our weight. So I have some tips and tricks I'm going to give you today. We're going to do 2 healthy, fun desserts, things that don't take a lot of time to prep. You can easily do them in between your work days, quickly on the weekends, and then a fun little mocktail, because there's going to be some moments maybe where we're wanting to enjoy a fun little drink, but maybe we're thinking about our blood sugars and the impact alcohol has on them. Maybe we're thinking about weight management. So we're going to get into all the fun today. Now, I welcome questions. So if you have any, as we're talking about ingredients or anything, feel free to drop it in the chat box. Leah and I will try to get to those as best as we can. And let's have some fun. So like I said, we're going to do 2 desserts and a mocktail. The first dessert that I'm going to start out with is a chocolate peppermint protein bite. So these are fun little things you can throw together. If you have kiddos at home, you can even make them together. It's a really fun little recipe. So how we're going to get started, just have a big bowl here. And we're going to start out with a few different ingredients. So our first ingredient I'm going to start with is a nut butter. Now, when you're purchasing nut butter, we're going to do peanut butter here, but of course you could do almond butter, cashew butter, whatever your preference is. But it's really important to make sure that you're reading the back of your nutrition labels. Where's our guy here? There we go. Reading the back of our nutrition labels to make sure the ingredients are only 1 or 2 ingredients, either just peanuts or peanuts and salt. We really want to make sure we're not choosing a peanut butter that has sugar added, especially in this recipe. We're going to add in some sweetness. So this gives us the best way to control the ingredients. So we're going to start out with about a cup of our peanut butter. I already have this ready to go for us. And this is going to be our binder for our little chocolate peppermint bites. Now, the good thing about peanut butter, it's also going to give us some extra protein, which is really nice too. So that's going to be our first ingredient, some peanut butter. Then we're going to do some almond flour. And this again is just a really simplified almond flour, nothing added to it. I just buy the big bag from Costco. I'll show you here just so you can see what it looks like. Really easy, really simple, and I love it as well compared to regular flour because it gives you a little bit of extra protein too. And that protein, especially as we're going to add in some carbohydrates, is going to help control your blood sugar. So we're always going to be thinking about that. Okay, so peanut butter, almond butter. We then have some unsweetened cocoa powder, about 1/4 of a cup there. Next, we're going to add in some flaxseed meal. And if you're not familiar with flaxseed meal, they're just flax seeds that have been ground into a powder, kind of looks just like that, almost reminds me of like another type of flour. Flax seeds are also really great because they give you, again, protein, fiber, and then our healthy omega-3s. So this is going to help bind our little peppermint balls together, which is really fun. Now, the secret ingredient to make this extra protein packed and chocolatey, of course, I'm going to use your favorite protein powder. Now, I just have an individual package. If this is really great for baking, you don't have to buy a big tub of it. This is the Garden of Life option, but there's so many different options out there. It's really up to your personal preference, whatever you like. But this is going to give us about 22 grams of protein in this little package. So I'm just going to add that chocolatey protein powder in there. And a lot of different grocery stores have the individual protein powders. So you can run into places like Sprouts, Whole Foods, sometimes Target will have them. You can find them all over the place. So that's kind of a fun way to get in a little bit more protein. And then let's start doing some of our liquids. So next up, we have just some 2 tablespoons of honey. So again, not really much sugar source here, but just a little bit to give that added sweetness. And then next, we're going to get that peppermint flair. So just have some peppermint extract. Peppermint goes a long way. So you don't need a ton of it. So we're gonna do, I know this might seem so silly, but 1/8 of a teaspoon, just a little bit in there, which is great. And then last but not least, we're gonna do some cacao nibs. So this is just a version of chocolate chips, but again, unsweetened, not a lot of added sugar. Of course, you could do some chocolate chips. You could go for dark chocolate chips, but I'm really trying to get our most bang for our buck here with that sweetness quality, but really high quality ingredients as well. So dump it all in there. And then of course, 1 pinch of salt, because you know, gotta do a little bit of that. So that's about it. And then here we are. So you're just gonna mix all of this into our bowl here. And you just keep mixing until a doughy ball forms. And so really using a rubber spatula here can help you kind of mix everything together. And you might be thinking after a while, like, why isn't this dough ball forming? Don't worry. Again, takes a little bit. Get your little arm workout in here as you're making your protein bites. So just keep mixing it around. Even sometimes just patting it down to make sure you're getting all of the dry mixture in there with the nut butter. That's really what's going to help us combine it all here. Excellent. Just keep it going.
Gina, there's a question. Somebody's wondering, are you able to share the recipes?
Yes, I am definitely able to share the recipes. So I can send those to Leah and the rest of the team so you all have access to them.
Okay, great. We'll post them when we post out the video. We can send them to you all then.
Yes, and I will say, you know, you can tweak this recipe as much as you would like to your own personal preference. So maybe you don't love a flavored protein powder. You definitely can use a unsweetened or unflavored option. You can forego it completely. You could do a collagen powder. But again, we're always looking for ways to just help balance any of our carbohydrate sources with a little bit more protein. And we're doing that through our protein powder, our almond flour, which is sneaky, get some protein in there, our nut butter, which is great. Okay, so you can kind of see this big dough ball is kind of formed here, which is fun. And then the best way to do that I have found, there's 2 different ways. Either take a small cookie scoop, just like this, or you could just take a soup spoon, whatever you have at home, and you're just gonna start to create little dough balls. So I usually just pop it out into my hand, with your cute little ball, roll it between my hands, and then we're going to place our formed balls just on a plate with some parchment, just so it doesn't stick to the plate. And again, you just kind of start repeating that step. And then once you've made all of your dough balls, you then can put them into the freezer, and that's where they start to form up. And I think they taste pretty good coming right out of the freezer. And so we'll kind of show you the end result. I wish you could taste them all with me. That would be much more fun. But you pop these in the freezer, and then you can leave them in the freezer for 4 to 6 hours until they're nice and formed. And then you can leave them in the refrigerator. If you leave them in the freezer, they're going to be too hard and just not enjoyable. But you have these cute little formed balls. Again, smells completely chocolatey, peppermint, gets you in the holiday season. Of course, we have to try it. So good, chocolatey, chewy, a great little protein bite. You can only have this for, not only for dessert, but a great little snack to have maybe before a workout, maybe when you're wanting something sweet, but you're not quite sure what to have. These are a great option. All right, and that's it. Super simple, super easy, right? Not much to it. Okay, so that is our first recipe. Please, I welcome any additional questions about making the chocolate peppermint balls, but we're gonna move on to Number 2, dessert, which is going to be a festive yogurt bark. So let me just move some of this stuff out of the way, and then we'll just keep on going.
Gina, that almost looks like a truffle. Would you say it has kind of truffle sort of taste a little bit, like a peppermint truffle?
It is a little truffle-y. I definitely would say that. It's very dense. So I feel like after you have 1 or 2 of them, that sweet craving definitely goes away, and a little bit goes a long way. So you don't feel like you have to have a bunch of them. But yes, very, very truffle-y, which is nice. Okay. Now let's get prepared for, we're going to do a festive yogurt bark. And so that might sound a little crazy, but yet again, bear with me as we get started. So we all have heard of our traditional peppermint bark that you all see at the grocery store. I'm sure we've all gotten them at one point or another for a gift, but let's make it festive, but still get a little bit more nutrition bang for our buck, right? That's what we're really aiming for here. Controlling the blood sugars, again, prioritizing our protein with any source of carbohydrates we're having, gonna really make those blood sugars happy, right? So what we need, we have some cinnamon and vanilla here. And then we're going to have all of our fun little toppings that I'll tell you all about. And the basis of our Greek yogurt bark is going to be some plain Greek yogurt. So instead of your classic bark, which is made up of either white chocolate or milk chocolate, we're going to do a fun little protein-packed spin here with some just 2% Greek yogurt. I like doing the 2%. Of course, you could do a 0% yogurt as well, but the 2% has a little bit more fat, keeps you fuller longer, which is really nice. So we can do, and you can do any brand. I've done it with the Trader Joe's brand, which is really great. The Faye brand, any plain Greek yogurt is fine. And how we're going to get started is you're just going to take about 1.5 cups of your Greek yogurt. And this is just a plain flavor, but of course you could buy a flavored yogurt. We are going to flavor it up just a bit. So I have some vanilla extract, and you're going to add about 1/2 teaspoon to your yogurt. Now, let's say you're thinking, Gina, I do not want a plain Greek yogurt. That just doesn't do it for me. Can't even imagine eating something like that. Let's go for a flavored option. But when you choose out a flavor option, I have a simple rule that I ask that you follow. The rule is you look for a flavored yogurt option with protein in the double digits and sugars in the single digits. So even if you're wanting a vanilla yogurt, or maybe you see something festive at the grocery store, like a cinnamon yogurt or eggnog, whatever it may be, make sure you're looking at the back of your label, and where it says total protein and total sugars, that's where you want to double check that the protein is greater than 10 and the sugars are less than 10. So that can kind of be a fun little tool to help you choose a yogurt that is flavored, that's still going to give you low sugar but high protein and tastes good. Okay. So you see I'm just kind of mixing together our little yogurt and vanilla extract mixture here. And I'm just going to set that aside really quick. And then we're going to pull out just a small baking sheet. And I just have a silicone rubber mat that goes really nice when you're doing any kind of baking. You can do parchment paper here too if you don't have something like this at home. Totally fine. So I'm just going to line the baking sheet there, which is great. And then in addition to that, we have our toppings, right? So I'll take my Greek yogurt. And of course, if you're also thinking about different types of yogurt, I didn't mention this either. Maybe you're lactose intolerant. Maybe you're wanting to go for more of a plant-based option. There's plenty of lactose-free yogurts out there. Actually, the Faye brand has a lactose-free version, so that may work for some of you. Of course, you could do a plant-based yogurt as well. I just still ask that you look and keep that same thought in mind, that the sugars are less than 10. A lot of our plant-based protein yogurts won't be super high in protein, but that's where you can get a little bit creative with it, and maybe you decide to add a little bit of unsweetened or maybe a vanilla protein powder to it. So lots of ways you can kind of play around with it. It's not a one size fits all by any means. So I'm going to dump out our yogurt right here onto our silicone mat. And then we're gonna just layer it out like you would if you're pouring chocolate, if you've ever made bark or seen it made before. So you could do it with the back of a rubber spatula. I have this handy little dandy spreader. Pampered Chef makes some really good gizmos like this, or any Crate and Barrel, Williams and Sonoma, all those fancy things. Doesn't have to be fancy, but this makes cooking more fun when you got all the tools, right? So I'm just going to spread this out, and you don't want to spread it out too thin. You want to imagine that this yogurt is going to be the bottom layer of your bark. So when you bite into it, you don't want it to be too thin. You want to have a nice, good piece that you can sink your teeth into, right? So I'm just kind of layering this out. Okay. And then we're going to get festive with our toppings. So again, I'm sure you'll get tired of hearing me say this. We're going to think about high fiber, high protein options, things that help balance out our carbohydrates, because again, yogurt is one of those foods that kind of does a little bit of both. It has the natural lactase, that carbohydrate in it, that milk sugar, but it's also packing in some protein. So by adding in a little bit more fiber and a little bit more protein, we're just going to help balance out things even more. So how do we do that? So I have some different toppings here. I have some, I'm thinking of red and green, right? Very festive. So we have some dry roasted pistachios. Of course, you can use any nut, or you can avoid nuts if that doesn't work for you. And that's about 1/4 of a cup. I also have some fresh pomegranates. And again, you could do any kind of fruit you wanted. I do ask that, or have you think about, if you're going to do a dried fruit, make sure it's an unsweetened dried fruit, because a lot of them will have some hidden sugar in it. And then you gotta have some sweetness, so some dark chocolate chips for a little bit of fun. Now, I want to show you a fun little trick, because I think this can make a huge difference when you're picking out fresh fruit, especially for things like pomegranates. If you think about buying pomegranates at the store, you're probably looking at it thinking, how the heck do I peel this open? And if you've opened a pomegranate before, this can get everywhere. It can stain things. It can cause messes that we just don't need or want, right? Especially if your kiddos are helping with you or helping make this recipe at home. This might be a good trick to teach them. It can impress maybe their friends on a play date or something like that. So what we're going to do, I have this other bowl here. I'll move it out of the way. And I'm just going to go ahead and just lightly cut the top off. So just very gently, just the top off, right like that. Nothing super fancy here. And then I'm just going to make a little diagonal cut with my knife, just so it's easy for you to kind of put your thumbs in there and break it apart if you needed, right? Now, if I tried to break this apart, this would go everywhere. So the key to not only opening the pomegranate safely and getting the little pods out is you're going to put this in a bowl, and you're going to take some water, and you're going to pour the water over your pomegranate. And then you're going to open the pomegranate in the water. And then once it's open like this, you start to peel away, and this easily, by breaking up into the water, you can kind of start to see it here a bit. It easily allows you to extract all of the seeds. So this makes it mess-free, pain-free, and you don't have to spend as maybe much money as you would to buy prepared pomegranates at the store. For example, I think the container that I saw at Trader Joe's that had the pre-made, already ready to go pomegranates is $3, where this pomegranate was about 69 cents. So a little bit of a saving there too. So this is kind of a fun little easy tip just to keep in mind as you're preparing for the holiday season. So I'm going to just set this aside since I've already done the hard work for us here. Let's get back to our bark. So again, we have this all nicely laid out, which is great. And then we're going to put on our toppings. So a 1/4 cup of pistachios, just sprinkle that across, which is fun. Then we have our pomegranates. Again, just going to sprinkle it. It looks all nice and pretty. We have our dark chocolate chips, which is awesome. And then you want a little bit more festive fun. So I'm just going to take some ground cinnamon. I'm just going to sprinkle it over the top. This gives it a fun little flair. This is another great way to add that sweetness without adding sugar, really using your spices, especially any holiday favorites. You could do cinnamon like I'm doing. You could also do cloves if you wanted. Now that this is done, we're going to pop this into the freezer, and you usually want to let this sit for about, I would say, 6 to 12 hours. Usually overnight is totally fine. Maybe if you're getting anxious, just wait till it's completely hardened. So to show you the final product, so this is what our final bark will look like. And you can see, once you peel it back from our little silicone wrap, it is a full sheet of bark, right? So now we get to do the fun part. I get to crack it into fun pieces. So just like this. So this can be a really fun dessert. Again, high in protein, lots of fiber, full of color, but still giving a little bit of sweetness. And this again is something you can customize to make it work for you. And again, we got a taste test here. So let's give it a go. It's pretty dang good. I wish you all were here in my kitchen so you could taste this, but it's fruity, zesty, chocolatey. You definitely can taste the creaminess of the yogurt. It's a nice little light, refreshing, sweet treat. So again, another simple, easy dessert to throw together. Okay, excellent. And again, if you have any questions about the ingredients I'm using, feel free to just enter them into the little chat box there. Just want to make sure everyone's questions are heard.
Gina, you have a question actually from the last recipe. Somebody was asking if you can substitute anything for the flax.
If you didn't want to use the flax, you honestly probably don't need to add it in. There's enough binder with the almond flour. So I would probably just omit the flax and then maybe just add, it's usually about a half a cup of the almond flour. So maybe you want to do a half a cup plus 2 tablespoons extra of the almond flour just to make sure that there's enough binding there. But no need to worry about not having the flax in there. Just a little added punch. Yeah, great question. Okay. All right. So now are we ready to mocktail? I think we are. It's about that time, right? Especially we're like 5:30 almost here on a Thursday, getting close to the end of the week. So
oh, Gina, you have one more question. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, somebody's asking how long the yogurt bark lasts at room temperature.
Good question. So the yogurt bark does need to be frozen, but at room temp, I would say it could be left out. Like if you're serving it, I would say no more than like 10 minutes. It can get pretty soft pretty quick. But if you're just enjoying it for yourself, once you break it up, go ahead and just keep it in the freezer in an airtight container. And that will be the best way to store. And it's usually good for about a week or two. Kind of just depends on your personal preference. But yeah, unfortunately, it's one of those desserts that doesn't stay great out at room temp. So depending on when you're going to serve it, just make sure it's served right at the moment and eaten pretty quick. Yeah, great question.
I don't think it would last very long. It looks super delicious.
Yes, it's so good. It goes very quickly in my house too. So too dang good. Okay, so let's get ready to mocktail. We're gonna make a cran orange rosemary fizz. So it has all the fall flavors or winter flavors, I should say. Let's get this going here. Okay, and you can customize this mocktail that we're going to talk about any way that you would like. It really, again, it's all able to be customized to your personal preferences for flavors. Maybe there's food allergies, medication interactions, again, really up to you. But for our fun little mocktail, I'm going to bring over all of our fun ingredients. Okay, so first couple things that we have. So we're, again, cran orange rosemary fizz is what we're going for here. Part of our cocktail, we're going to be using 100% cranberry juice. So this is something I do want to mention is that 100% cranberry juice is different than cranberry concentrate. So a lot of times concentrate can have added sugar plus the natural sugars that you're getting from juice, where this is simply the ingredients here. Juices from whole cranberries. That's what you're looking for. You don't want to have any added sugars. That's what you're going for. We're not going to use a ton of this, but every little piece of the equation counts, right? So this is just 100% cranberry juice. Again, you could customize this to do whatever you would like. You could do pomegranate juice if you wanted to as well. You need 1 navel orange, or you could also do cute little cuties if you have those on hand. Then we're gonna do a fresh bag of our cranberries. And then we're gonna do rosemary. So these are all things you can pick up at most of the grocery stores that are close by, and these are gonna be easy to make. So first things first, we're gonna cut up our orange, and I'm just gonna cut our orange in half. And we're gonna save 1/2 of our orange, and then I'm just going to start cutting this into like little chunks. So again, you cut it in half and then cut it into once more, and then just little slices, kind of like if you're almost doing some orange slices. And then there's these cute little cubes. So kind of like that. You could see how a cutie would also work for this too. These are gonna go into part of our mocktail. Okay, so we have our oranges there. And then you're gonna take an ice cube tray. So I usually have you look for one that has a silicone base. It's a little bit easier to pop out. You can also do big ice cubes if you want to too. This is gonna be how we make our mocktail really fun. So first things we're gonna do, you're gonna take your little orange cubes you have here, and you're going to put them into your little ice cube holders just like this. Make some of these a little bit smaller so they fit a little bit better. Okay, and then once you have your orange pieces into your ice cube holders, just like you can see here, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your fresh cranberry, and we're just going to enter a few of these into each of your ice cube holders. Again, these will range from how much you'll need depending on how big your ice cube trays are. But you can see here, so again, we just have your cranberries and your little orange slices in there. Then we're going to take your rosemary, because this is the cran orange rosemary, right? That's what we have going here. A little fig, and you're just going to take little itty bitty pieces off of your rosemary and just put this right on top of your orange and your cranberry. This is so festive. I always think of my mom using rosemary for everything Christmas related. I feel like a prime rib and potatoes, so why not add it to the cocktail mixture, right? It makes a lot of sense. So we've added our rosemary, right? Now the next step is going to be where our juice comes in. So you're going to make little ice cubes with your juice here and your cranberry, your orange, and your rosemary. So I'm just going to pour a little bit of juice into each mold. And again, like I said, you can use whatever juice you prefer. You also could just do sparkling water if you just don't care for any of these flavors in general. Again, it can be totally customizable to you. Now you have filled up your ice cube tray here, and then I recommend getting one with a little topper just so juice doesn't spill. I did spill a bunch of juice in the freezer yesterday, and that's not fun to clean up, so just protect yourself with a little bit of a top there. And you're just going to put this right on top, right? And then you'll put this in the freezer until they're completely frozen. Again, overnight is probably best just to make sure that there's nothing sloshing around, right? So we're going to put these ones in the freezer, and then we're going to get to mocktail bacon, right? So for every cute mocktail, you need a cute cup, right? So I have these fun little mocktail cups that we're going to have here. And then we're going to pop off the top. You should see here, this is all of our frozen little fun mocktail cubes. And we're just going to start to carefully punching them out. And you can see here, they just kind of look like fun little cubes. And this can be a bit of a challenge again, always making you get a little upper arm workout as we get the day started. So I'm just gonna put about 2 or 3 is probably good in each one. Okay, fun. Great, so we have about 3 in there. Again, like I said, you can do that however you would like. And then you're just going to do a small splash. You don't really need much of this. This is really just for a tish of color. So again, a little splash there. Another little splash. And then the remaining of the cocktail, Trader Joe's has this seltzer water. It's a blood orange flavor, which is really nice. And again, this does have a little bit of fresh blood orange juice in it, but the total sugars is 2 grams, which is really great. Only 15 calories for a can. So again, a really nice way to be mindful of the sugar. Most cocktails are very high in sugar, especially if you're wanting to go with this flavor. So then we're just going to top off our mocktail with some bubbles. Now, you could definitely do, instead of a seltzer water, you definitely could do something like a diet ginger beer or ginger ale if you wanted. Really up to you, however you want to do it. And then a fun little party trick that makes your cocktails look extra festive is we can grab some toothpicks, just like you see here, and you take that other half of your orange, because I'm all about reducing our food waste. We got to use like every single part of it, right? And take your vegetable peeler, if you have one, and you're actually going to just gently peel the outer part of your orange, just like this. So kind of is a nice little curly. And then we're going to take one of our toothpicks, and you're just going to kind of fold your orange into like a little accordion. So again, this is definitely not necessary, but hey, we're being festive and it's making it fun, and that can definitely make this part a little bit easier. So you can do that a couple different times depending on how you like it. You also can take the cranberry and put it right on the end for a cute little skewer. So I have one here, so we're going to drop it in. You can also do a full cranberry one, and cheers. You have a cute little mocktail. It's
oh my gosh, that's so cute.
Isn't it cute? It's just adorable. And so this is a really, again, a fun way to make it nice and customizable. I think this just screams festive, fun, and you don't have to worry about like the calories that comes with alcohol, you know, how you might not like how you feel, just the excess sugar. This is just such a fun way to enjoy the night, and no one would ever know. This looks like, you know, something you get at a fancy cocktail bar, right? So it's super delicious. Yum.
A lot of people love your mocktail, Gina.
Oh, good.
Are wanting it. Do you know where you can buy the unsweetened cranberry juice? Is it at any store? I feel like you commonly see the ones that are sweetened.
Yes, so usually I would say a couple different stores have different options. Most of the time, the unsweetened ones aren't refrigerated. I found that you mostly should go down the aisles where they have like teas or sparkling water, things like that. This one is from Trader Joe's where I found it, and I really had to read the labels because they had a bunch of different juices mixed in with one another. So it's really just putting your knowledge to the test to say, okay, when I look at the ingredients, does it say just juices from whole cranberries? If yes, throw it in the cart. If it's saying it's adding sugar, I might want to find something else. So another alternative could be, let's say you're just having a hard time finding a juice that doesn't have sugar added. You could switch up how you make the cocktail, but we could just take a bunch of regular blood oranges or regular oranges and juice them with the juicer at home, or again, just squeezing it with your hand. And that could be an alternative way to getting that fresh juice without the added sugar. Well, great. Again, I wish you all were here in my kitchen to eat our fun desserts and have our little mocktails, but hopefully this will give you some great encouragement and fun ideas to share with your families this holiday season. I'll also say, if you don't want to do cranberries and orange, you definitely can do a different flavor profile. Maybe you want to do some sliced cucumbers with basil and mint. Maybe you could do something with lemons. And again, it's really up to you how you want to do it, but there's so much fun to be had. So I'm happy to provide any additional suggestions that you need.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A and we can watch out for that before we log off. And I think for me, Gina, just one of the things I've really taken away from today is you're really getting ingredients that are as close to Mother Nature made them as possible. Your peanut butter is just peanuts. Your cranberry juice that you're using is just cranberries. And I think that's a great way to think about that, especially your yogurt kind of reference point is so great. So really appreciate all of those things that you've shared.
Good. And I know it can be challenging to find these ingredients. And so, we are always open to helping you like read the labels and figuring that out. So if you're at the grocery store and you're stuck, send it to our way and we're happy to help you navigate that. But as Leah was saying, the closest to Mother Nature, the better. A lot of times it's going to give you the highest quality ingredient, which I think a lot of us are trying to find small ways to improve our health, and starting with the ingredients can be a great place to start.
Great. There's no more questions. So I think with that, just a huge thank you for your recipes and mocktail. It sounds like a lot of people are really excited to make them, and we'll get the recording posted and Gina's recipes posted up as well. And we really thank you all for joining us and taking time out of your night.
Well, thank you, everyone. Have a very happy holiday, and we'll see you all in the new year.